Welcome again to the Unlearning Curve podcast, where we talk about things like mental health, what's going on in the world, deconstruction, and all that's fucked up about Christianity in America. It's fun stuff like that. Light topics that we love to do. My name is Stuart Delony. I'm joined by Karl the Great and also JD Forehand, joining us from halfway across the globe. If you have questions, if you want to call us out, tell us that we're heretics and we're going to hell, we would love to hear from you. The Unlearning Curve podcast at gmail.com. Bring it. Feed us. Your love, your hate, we'll take it all. And so, yeah, we're like good whores. We'll take it all. So, JD has a mysterious topic that we're going to be diving into, like good whores. So what's our topic?
Stuck in a loop.
Yeah, he's stuck on that one.
Nudging. He's stuck in a loop.
Today, there was a couple things that I wanted to talk about. But I decided off of Dad's first topic, I kind of decided to go with the topic of like schemas. Are you guys familiar with the idea of what a schema is?
Explain to me a schema.
It's essentially like your understanding of a concept. For instance, when you are a child, you learn what a dog is, and then you see a cat, and you have to form these kind of schematic ideas of okay, sure, that's a dog, right? Oh no, wait. It's different, right? And then, but it's basically kind of helping us understand. It's kind of these lenses through which we view stuff. And I think the reason why I decided to go with this is because I think it's related to Dad's topic about resilience. Is that to be resilient, I think we have to modify our schemas, because as all of us have childhood trauma, life trauma, whatever, as I'm sure a lot of the audience does, our schemas are oftentimes messed up. We have some sort of gap in them, or we have things that are misunderstood, etc. And so I think that that's one thing we really need to start understanding. And it I don't know. I'm kind of from the first topic we discussed, have a lot of different ideas that are coming up, but we'll see if we get to them or not. But the idea is basically that if we can kind of correct our schemas, we can get past a lot of, or not have to deal with a lot of stuff, additional trauma, I guess. Because obviously if you don't understand what's going on, or you don't understand the situation, or we have misidentified something, that can obviously bring us a lot more problems. So anyway, I just think that in terms of community and finding our community, we do need to help each other adjust those kind of things and kind of dial those kind of things in. And also, this is one of the things I was thinking about when thinking about this topic is I have a number of friends and students that I've worked with that have a big issue with, especially with self-image. But I think that's one thing that we have to work on. Is I've worked with some of those people in terms of just being you just have to show people. And again, it relates back to the initial topic we talked about, where it's just it's about sitting in those uncomfortable places and being I know you have these negative ideas, or you have this misunderstanding, so let's sit down and talk about it and work through it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. We could go a number of different ways with this, but this is just something that's been on my mind a lot. Is this idea of how can we modify our schemas, and also, Stuart, you kind of missed this in the first part, was just I guess we talked about this too on the podcast before, but don't believe your lying eyes and these kind of things. It's sometimes that is true. Sometimes we do have blind spots, or whatever, goggles, or whatever we want to call it, that cause us not to be able to actually comprehend what reality is. Anyway, I'm just going to vomit all that up, and then you guys take that wherever you want.
Okay, so you mentioned self-image and things like that. So I'm curious. So, give me within context, friends or student. It's not simply where they're "Ooh, that's a banana," and you're no, that's a dog. Yeah, and so I'm how would this naturally come up?
The specific one I'm thinking of is I have a person in my life that has body dysmorphia, and that's a big one, because again, it's interesting, and a lot of it draws back to childhood trauma, or things you were told, or ways you were taught to think. Again, these kind of schemas that you have. But there's also, of course, depending on what kind of approach we want to look at or whatever, there are different explanations for those things. But again, the biggest issue is like correcting that thinking, and how do we get to that? And I think the biggest way to get to that is communication and community.
Mhm.
But yeah, because like for instance, the individual that I'm like thinking about right now
Mhm.
will look at other people that are like far less fit than they are and things like that, and be like, oh, they're fine, like they have a good, but then they'll look at themselves and be like, oh, I'm fat, and like I'm
Mhm.
disgust, like they like, but the point being is that this is what I was thinking about earlier, just like resilience. And I was also thinking about when we talked about exposure therapy before, when you sit with people through those things and you walk them through it, and if you have some level of expertise, you can get them to like start to notice these kind of flaws in their thinking,
Mm.
and these issues that they're going with, or like how they're not grouping these schemas similarly, or like, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think, yeah,
So you mentioned
I
two
think
C words.
it's tough. Oh,
Sorry, I'm
we do
sorry.
have 9 C's now. We had 7 C's last time.
No, you said community or communication or
I said communication and community, both. Yeah,
Mm.
communication and community
yeah.
Context, also, I think is what you're getting at somewhat.
Context,
Yeah.
context. I'm
commitment.
just writing them all down. So
We could probably get up to
communication,
7.
what would communication look like? I saw there's the definition of mental framework or pattern that helps organize and interpret information. It's a cognitive shortcut for understanding the world, people, and
Yeah,
situations.
yeah.
So,
It's, I mean, it's these heuristics, right? That we all use all the time to like shorten our thinking, make things quicker, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm,
But again,
Mm.
once you learn it incorrectly and then you reinforce that over and over again, you're going to have problems because you're not seeing the world as it truly is. And I think the reason why communication and community come into that is, again, I've done this with numerous people in my life. If you, it's not going to happen the first time. Obviously, again, it's not the myth of religion where it's like you snap your fingers or you say the right words, and for some reason the giant monster in the sky winks at you and you get better. But you can, when you talk to people and they're like, again, I'm just going to keep using this example because it's the easiest one. When they're like, no, I'm ugly or I'm fat or whatever, and then you, okay, so what's the definition of that? This person
Mhm.
is, are they fat? Okay, no, they're not. You don't think they're fat. Well, you are thinner. You have a little whatever. You can point these things out to people. You know, whether exactly that is the right way to go about it or not is not the point. But the point is, if you sit down and talk with people and you
Mm.
build communication, build community with them, they eventually will understand you, and they'll trust you enough to believe you. And it won't be perfect,
Mhm.
right? Again,
mhm.
it may be a lifelong thing that they struggle with and go back and forth on, but there is a possibility for improvement. And in cases that I've seen, um, a lot of times it does progress in a positive light.
That's interesting because, Carl, you mentioned community because, yes, communication and community, that folks, I guess what you're talking about too is that we can end up living with these distorted, broken issues of schema in ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we're not told it's wrong, or if we're not told that that's warped or off, we just assume that's reality and we just keep moving.
Right.
Yeah, or if they're reinforced, like in the
Yeah. Oh,
church.
yeah. 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 Absolutely.
So
That's interesting.
religion,
Yeah.
in my opinion, religion does that in a real general way when they say
Mm,
it's us and the world.
Yeah.
Everything outside of us is the world,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
the world's bad, based on a misinterpretation of 1 John 2:15. Don't love the world or anything in the world. But what's the world? The
Hmm.
world is everything, right?
Hmm.
It's the
Yeah.
cosmos. We talked about
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But separate. So would a good question for people be, you say that you're fat and ugly.
Hmm.
I say that a lot. So what are you basing that on? Is that a good question? Or what would be a good question, JD?
It I would
How
say,
did
I
you
don't know if
determine
like
that?
there's, again, I'm not a big formulaic guy. I don't know if there's like a specific, there's not like a sequence that you go through. I again, I think the biggest thing is, if you build a relationship with someone and you show them
Relationship.
that you care about them because you
Hmm.
do, yeah. If
Good
you show
point.
them that you care
That's a
about them
good
because
point.
you do, and they can feel that, then they
Hmm.
will you can talk them through that, and you can stumble on your words, and you can say stupid shit. Again, done it a million times with me. But if you're honest about it, and even if you do make a mistake, they can come, you can come around later and say, okay, listen, I probably didn't word that right or whatever. Like, but you'll get past it. I mean, of course there are probably caveats to that, but like for most of my experience, the biggest thing is first under getting a grasp of just like, why do you feel this way? How do you feel, first of all? And like getting a background for like, okay, why might you feel these sorts of ways? But then part of it is just pointing it out. And again, it's, as with most mental health stuff, there's not a solution. There are many solutions, and you basically just apply them until you figure out what works for people. And if you understand a person better, again, building community, building relationship, you will probably have a better idea of what will work for them. So for example, I have certain students in my life where if they say negative things at school, because they often say negative things kind of as just kind of a flippant way to like be like humble, I guess, or like, there's also like other issues, but anyway,
it reinforces their damage. It reinforces their damage somewhat,
right? Yeah. And it's also stuff that they've learned before. It's when they were a kid, they were taught to like, oh, you always need to be like super humble, and you're a piece of shit, whatever it is. But once you start to push them outside of that, and you say, hey, it's okay, whatever, like you will progress. So I would hesitate to say like you should say this or whatever is, but like, again, build a relationship and then just be honest. And of course, like with everything, like you should be looking into like, if you're trying to help someone, like what are effective methods and things like this. But yeah, like, I mean, for some of them, I make them, if they say a negative thing about themselves, I make them say 3 positive things. And I have all of the kids at the school know that that's the rule. I say, hey, this kid, if they say something negative, they need to say 3 positive things about themselves. And the kids hold them to that. And the kids do it too. Like they know, like, oh, if I say it, they're like, fuck, okay. And then they say it, and then everyone's happy and work through it. And like, but the point is just like, it's all about just putting in the work. And then but again, going back to the idea of this is you can like rewire those schemas and start to understand, whether it's yourself or the world or whatever it is, we can have like a better understanding, and we can get past a lot of these like hangups that we have, or like, it's kind of also related to like things that trigger us, perhaps. Like, again, going to like the exposure therapy, if you can kind of create a resilience to those things, oftentimes you can work through them. And again, obviously that has to be in a healthy way. It can't just be like grit your teeth and fucking run through it and take a salt tablet if it hurts or whatever. Like, you have to have those community and things like that to get through it. But anyway, point being, yeah,
no, I agree, because as a person that has like lots of like childhood damage I've been moving through with therapists, I mean, it's one of those things that when there's a certain comfort in believing you're a piece of shit, because you've at least framed everything else in your mind around that, and that's part of your worldview.
Scapegoat in a way.
Yeah. But then what happens is, if people start poking at it, even if it is meaning well, sometimes I think there's going to be folks that are going to push back and try to defend it hard. But to your point, it's time. It's time. I think it's community. I think it's also people need to want to change too.
Yep.
Because sometimes being in those wallowy spaces, it's comforting. It's comforting, and that's it's not helpful, but it's what they know, and it's comforting. And so it's messy. It takes time.
But like you said, I mean, it's a place where you know what it's like, right? It's the same thing with traumatic situations. Like, this is traumatic, but it's better than the unknown, right? It's better than this thing that I have no idea, or I can throw myself into, and then it could be even worse. So but again, that's also there's not a fucking snap your fingers and it's better thing. That is something that we like, because I don't know, I was going to say Americans, but I think people in general love instant cures, and they just, for most things, they don't exist. There are things that, if your heart stops and they hit you with, electric, maybe your heart will restart. But like, for most things, there's not a simple fix that just happens right away. And especially with mental health stuff. And so, like, again, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. It's like, you have to sit, if you really want to create community and you want to improve people's lives that are struggling, you have to sit in the shit with people, and it's gonna suck. it's gonna suck because it's also gonna probably fuck you up or bring up old traumas and things like that.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna
again,
be a
that's why you
burden.
have community, because then you go to the other person that is there for you or the other group of
Mhm.
people. And again, it's just about spreading these things out and being able to support each other when we can.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if it doesn't happen, then we're just gonna sit in our own shit and nothing's gonna move forward.
But I love that you're saying that we're not romanticizing it either. Because I think oftentimes, even with things like what is it, the Shiva, where you're supposed to go and sit with people and be quiet. But I think that we can end up turning these things into performance. But like what you're saying, JD, it's just the idea. It's literally in what you're saying. It is literally like sitting in shit with someone.
Yeah,
it is unpleasant as it sounds, and that is where you're at. And that doesn't sound like let's go to the park with somebody and their mental health. No, it's you're getting into it. It's messy, and it requires something. But that is community. That's the essence of like having relationships and community. It's not just, oh, did I tell you something that just made your day better instantly? Oh, great, yay!
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that kind of attitude.
That's what people want, because that makes us feel good. I said one thing real quick. It didn't take any of my energy, and it made someone feel better. Like, great. Mm-hmm. But again, that doesn't maybe again like the comment that was made by the secretary to Dad. Those things happen, but in general, they don't. Again, that's a positive thing, not to take away from that, but it's also not necessarily long lasting. And I mean, I just have to say, like, if people in the audience want to actually do these things, like actually sit with these people, like, you do need to prepare yourself, because it's not fun. It's rewarding over the long term, but when you're in it, like, I've sat with kids while they cry in the hallway and talk to me about like how they've attempted to end their own life. Like, it's not fun. It's not fun, and it's uncomfortable, and you
feel it. You feel it.
Yeah, and what I usually want to do is go, it'll be fine. It's okay. At least it's okay now. Blah blah blah. Yeah. But what is really genuinely oftentimes the best thing is to shut up and let them talk, and then if sometimes just sit in silence, and sometimes to say, okay, well, but you have improved. So where do we go from here? What's the whatever it is. It depends. If you build that community, you'll understand to some degree, and you'll fuck it up a million times. But again, it's the same thing as like moving forward. There's no formulaic thing. But also because of that, you're going to make mistakes. But in most instances that I've experienced, I've said some dumb shit where I'm just like, I'm just like trying to feel for something, and then I say it, and then I send them an email later that night. I'm like, what I said was, thinking back on it, was not smart. But that's the community. Is like, hey, listen, we have a relationship, whether it's friends or teacher, student, whatever it is. And if you just let them know, hey, I'm still thinking about this. I know you probably are too, because this brain ruminates on a bunch of shit that doesn't matter for fucking way too long. But I can go to them and say, hey, I've been thinking about this. Like, and most of the time they go, I haven't been thinking about it at all. But again, it requires that constant shifting of like, hey, this is where I am. This is what I understand. How can we help each other? And again, that's how we get that like shift in schemas is if you hear something over and over again, you reinforce these things, you'll start to shift how you think. That's just the way it works. So
it's also, but you're also speaking of an interconnectedness too. I mean, it's the idea that this conversation is continuing on, and then that there's an idea of like, I screwed up, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, and all of this, other than what, like you're mentioning prepackaged, I want to give you the perfect answer. And oftentimes we'll be at this place, I want to say the perfect thing that's going to somehow heal you.
Yeah.
And then walk away and never think about them again. Yeah. It's cleaner and it's messier to ruminate. Because isn't it fun ruminating about stuff? Oh, it's lovely.
What people probably won't see is, if they just have the audio of this, is when JD kind of slipped in the thing about relationship early on in this conversation, that Stuart and I are both bobbing our heads, right? So relationship is so much a part of it.
Yeah.
My question about that is, weren't the wrong schemas also developed in relationship? And can we develop new bad schemas?
For sure. 100%.
For sure.
100%. Yeah, 100%. You can, and people do it all the time. It's one of the reasons why I tell people to get offline, because just like we were talking about earlier with like heuristics and like these ways of like shortening our thinking, that's where things like bigotry and all this stuff comes from. So absolutely you can. I mean, look at we have a phenomenon right now of like the like internet rabbit hole of people like going and being like becoming Nazis or like become whatever it is, like becoming like right-wing trolls or like bigots or whatever it is. That's a thing. And that what that is you have trauma or you have something you're upset or angry about. But you start watching these videos or reels or whatever, and then you get down to the bottom and it gives you the simple solution. Why is everything in your life bad? It's not because you don't work as hard as you should, or it's not because you had a bad background. It's because the Jays, or it's because the blacks, or whatever it is. Like, and that absolutely, I've seen my friends do it. And this is another topic that I want to come back to at some point, which is creating community with people that you think have like really toxic or shitty ideologies. We won't go too far on that one right now because we can do a whole episode on that. But yeah, absolutely. You can form shitty schemas. And that's how all schemas form, right? Is your understanding of the world plus what people teach you, usually through relationships. I mean, that's basically what socialization is. So it's primarily through the family, and then secondary socialization is mostly through the school. But yeah, absolutely. You can form shitty schemas based on, dickheads teaching you bad stuff or just like trauma and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely.
But you could flip it on the other side too, right? Like we were all talking about trauma, but what about like those? I mean, narcissists. People that have like been told like the sun, sun to the moon, like just shines in your ass. Everything you do is wonderful. Yeah. You should put your name on every building, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm curious, like, because I guess the issue
I feel like
is,
you're talking about someone specific right now.
I am. But like when dealing with folks like that, see, I guess is the break in the chink. You're probably not going to have community with somebody like that, so you don't have to worry about like on the flip side. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
to some degree. I mean, if someone is like a clinical narcissist, then maybe. But I think honestly, if someone is like a clinical narcissist or like has like very severe whatever it is, then probably number one, most of those like serious psychological disorders such as that are going to make people like. You're going to need to be a professional to like deal with them. Mm-hmm. It's such a small portion of the population that you're probably not going to deal with it. But I mean, you should be able to. And again, even if they're not like clinically a narcissist, but they're an asshole or whatever, that goes back to this. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll do this for my next topic. It's like I think to the degree that which you can do it, I think it's useful to have relationship with those people.
Mm-hmm. So is it then coming to it like Billy? Honestly, you're ugly. You are not as handsome as you think you are, and you're not as smart as you think you are. But that's okay, Billy. That's okay. Is it something like cutting them down, like in community, like making sure they're, like?
I don't know if I would say like being mean to them, but I think you could do that to a degree. You would have to like, oh yeah, Billy, you're an ugly piece of shit. Like you're dumb as fuck. But I think yes, to a degree where you can say like, if you have a relationship with someone, like I've had friends that I'm like, listen, you have like kind of an inflated ego. Like you need to chill, like bring it down a little bit. I think, depending on the relationship and depending on the person, I think it's useful. I've had definitely kids, and again, like of course, like kids have weird, either like really deflated or really inflated egos sometimes. I've had to sit down with a couple of kids and be like, listen, I know you think you're hot shit. Listen, you go abroad and do some of the shit you're doing, like someone's going to fuck you up. And, to the degree that you have a relationship with these people, like a lot of times they'll be like, again, it's not going to happen the first time. They're going to be like, yeah, whatever, I'll be fine. But like over time, like they're going to be like, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe I will get my ass beat if I'm like an asshole when I go to America or something. Mm-hmm. So I think it is like that. Obviously, a little tongue in cheek. Like you don't have to be like mean absolutely. To them. Again, if you're like in a relationship, I don't think that you want to, but absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to do in society in general right now is again be friends with people who whatever you think have potential or whatever, maybe an asshole right now, but also to hold them accountable, to hold friends accountable. Like that's one thing that I've pushed myself. Well, obviously to hold myself accountable, but like that's a different thing. But like there's been a number of times in the last year or two where I've just like called people out. I don't do it like in public, right? But like I've gone online and been like, dude, you're being a fucking dickhead right now. Like, why are you being so nasty? Like, who hurt you, basically? Like, legitimately, I've asked some of my friends, like, hey, who hurt you? Because you're being like nasty. Of course, yeah. I'm not gonna, because I don't like Stuart was talking about earlier with like beefing with people on TikTok. Like, I think that can be cathartic and like useful in terms of like increasing your like debate skills or whatever we want to say. Like, it can be, there can be benefits to it. But in general, like, I don't think a lot of people
Oh no,
that you're
you're right.
talking to benefit from that. You have to have that relationship in order, because like
Yeah.
if I go up to like the student, like say there's a student who I'm like not that close with, if I'm like, hey dude, you're being an asshole, they're just gonna be like, oh, I'm being attacked. But if I
Mhm.
pull a student that I have a good relationship with, it like to the side and go, listen dude, you're being a dick, like that's not cool, I don't like that, that makes me upset, and they're gonna be like, they in theory they should have some respect for my view, and then should, and again, and you have to have that open line of communication where you say, listen, if you disagree with me, you think I'm being unfair to you, absolutely, and I'll listen to you 100%, and then we'll have a conversation. But that has to be what it is. There has to be a constant conversation, otherwise, yeah, you're like, no one's going anywhere,
This
because
this
we're
is
not
not what
very
you're
good at
saying at all. This is not what you're saying at all. But it's where my brain goes with logical conclusions. What it sounds like.
it.
So, the audience needs to go and befriend some assholes. You're gonna have to spend some time with them. This is gonna be like evangelism, so you don't really want to be their friend, but you're just wanting to be around them, and you're
I
wanting to
agree
like
with you up
lure
until
them
that
in.
point.
So eventually, you're gonna then tell them, you need to get to that point of saying, Brad, you're a dick, and no one likes you. And so it's, I think I can see this work here. As an evangelist, we got to work it in here. Dehumanize, get the results we want. You know,
I mean,
this
yes,
is all sarcasm.
but
this is all sarcasm. I'm not
just
being serious.
Yeah.
without
Basically didn't catch it.
I agree. I honestly kind of agree with you though. Besides the dehumanization, and like, you obviously shouldn't just like make friends with people because they're assholes. Like, I have friends that I think they have really bad opinions on certain topics, but I'm friends with them because I think they have a lot of redeeming qualities. Like, they're overall a good person. I just think they've had the wool, again, their schemas are fucked up. And so they have these issues. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would strongly encourage people to be friends with people that they like think have like abysmal views or like shitty views, because I think it's good for people. Like, I think this is, I'm gonna get off on too many topics, but anyway, like, I think there's so much in today's world where like we just want to like cancel people because we just, or like whatever, like, I hate the fucking word cancellation, but anyway, like, we just want to like shit on people or like dump on people, and maybe they deserve to be dumped on, but on the internet I don't think it's useful. Like, it doesn't make anyone better, it just divides people into camps further, and then everyone is just hates everyone more, and everyone's a dickhead more. But if I, like, for instance, like, I have a friend who's very conservative in certain ways. Like, it's mixed. It's really strange. But anyway, I know he has like met more friends or like expanded his like circle of friends because I'm friends with him, and I'm very, very different. Like, I'm like on the anarchist side of everything, whereas he's like, yeah, anyway. But like, we've had knockdown dragouts, and like, we've yelled at each other, and but like, he's progressed a lot, and I wouldn't say it's all me or whatever,
He's
but like,
getting smarter.
you can make an impact. What'd you say?
I said he's getting smarter, right? He's getting smarter. So,
I think that's right.
so would you say that all of us, because of Dunning-Kruger, because of things like that, that our understanding and how we build our schemas is so limited? It's mostly our parents and so on when we're growing up and where we live and those kind of things. But then I come to a point where I was almost 50 years old and decided to try yoga, and my ex-pastor friend confronted me about that, and I said, so what's wrong with yoga? And he
Slippery
didn't
slope.
know. He didn't know what was wrong. And I said, have you ever been to a yoga class? And he said, no, and I never would. I said, why? And the two people that were pushing this in my last church, they both had read the same article by a Baptist guy based on a book by one woman who had attributed yoga to her gateway into all the other bad things in the world.
I know. Stretching.
Downward
And so
dog
all of
turning
them
into
believed
downward demon.
And so all of them believed that, and even though they had no experience, no anything. I think, I was reading to a girl in school the other day, or she was reading to me. She's a really good reader in second grade. And she said, I'm reading the Bible. She said, I'm trying to figure out what I think about it. It's like, wow, that's amazing for a second grader
Yeah.
to say that, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out what I think about it. And
you, of course,
then,
said, no. No.
You immediately
No.
handed her a
No.
Levian Satanism Bible.
yeah,
Do what thou wist is the whole of the law, young lady.
I know you're kind of steering away from prescribed questions and things like that, but maybe it's just questions,
Mhm.
period,
Yeah.
or mostly questions. What's behind that? Why do you think that? How did JD
Questions
taught me
build
that?
understanding. Yeah.
You
It
taught
builds
me that
understanding.
about.
It helps you know where they're coming from because
Mhm.
I tend to have more of a affinity for like cognitive psychology. And so I think that's like for me, that's where a lot of it comes from. Is like you just have again schemas, problems with your schemas, or you have problems in terms of your cognition. Like you had some wires got crossed somewhere. That's generally how I approach stuff. I'm not like 100% cognitive approach, but like I think it's a big thing. And again, if you ask questions and if you're just present with people, like
Mhm.
just letting people talk at you and shutting the fuck up for a while, like, is a
Mhm.
good thing. And I guess today is Friday. It's Shut the Fuck Up Friday. So again,
Yeah.
sometimes we just need to be quiet. Just
I
be
wasn't aware
quiet
of that
or
holiday.
ask questions. Huh?
I wasn't aware of that holiday.
What holiday is it again, JD?
Shut the fuck up Friday.
That's a good place to end.